Thank you, everyone. It's a bit hard to follow up this great keynote, so I hope you'll be interested for the next 30 minutes. So I'm going to share today actually the part of the work we did with one of the local customers, but in terms of starting with what is the story about generative AI in marketing, and then showing the business case with a little bit of demo as well, which I hope should be very interesting, and then closing the ways how we actually create the roadmap overall. My name is Darije Ramljak. I'm as associate partner leading the customer transformation digital experience consulting services for IBM in Central and Eastern Europe, and we are actually very much focused for the last 2, 3, 4 years actually in using AI, especially now Gen AI, in marketing, sales, service, and commerce domains. So as Tobias already shown, kind of like all the boom that started with ChatGPT also influenced a lot of marketing, CMOs actually in marketing domain. A lot of the potential kind of in terms of text generation with Mid-Journey, DALL-E, image generation, there is a lot of stuff that marketing already thought, well, now we have a solution for all of our problems. So how to create content with potentially don't need agencies. It's not a fact like that still, but what we have been experiencing is that with certain studies that we have seen, there is already over 50% marketing teams actually using generative AI in their day-to-day production. They kind of say that they shave off around 5 hours, which is more than 10% of their work on a weekly basis. And there is a lot of operations, actually, efficiencies being used. But they are using, as Tobias was mentioning earlier, they were using more in terms of like ad hoc tools. Is it ChatGPT, DALL-E, maybe Mid-Journey, kind of create ad hoc type of tools to create special content. But then their top use cases are actually in terms of customer insight, market research, all these elements where we can understand the world through the generative AI, summarize, create actually searches, and then create specific content that marketing teams would need. But this is just basically a tip of the iceberg, because if we look at the whole marketing kind of process end to end, there is a lot of potential where we can actually start using the marketing operations and using Gen AI, how to actually influence them. Starting from marketing strategy, which with natural language query capabilities, maybe competitor analysis, brand usage guidelines, basically creating skilled assistants that will tailor our marketing teams and actually guide them how to use brand guidelines. Then creating audiences and channels, personalization. One of the use cases I'll be showing here later on would be around personalization itself. And there is all the way to deployment and then analyzing the whole cycle, basically. We can start uncovering with tasks or jobs to be done, as we say, kind of where generative AI could really help. But it's not going to help us only with tools, and I think one of the questions was, should we buy Copilot or not? I would say yes, Copilot is a basic, or Copilot or ChatGPT or IBM watsonx, I'll be showing later on, in terms of capability that you start with, but it's not enough. Basically, you need to start grounding the data, start to actually adding the company data into it, and then making it really your enterprise personalized fully. So, from the key concepts that what we call IBM Consulting Advantage is, for example, within IBM, we are already using similar tools for our 160,000 consultants actually globally already, with skilled assistants ranging from insights, discovery, proposal preparation, RFP analysis, the definition of software development life cycle from user stories, persona generation, all the way down to actually creation of code. So all these assistants are already being used by IBM internally, but then we started to provide concepts in terms of how to bring those capabilities to marketing teams. So there are 3 key concepts actually there. First one is starting with what we call brand brain, basically. It's starting with plain LLM, basically an OpenAI, Google service, or IBM's watsonx service, but then you start building the content on top of it, because it's not understanding your enterprise, it doesn't understand your brand guidelines, it doesn't understand actually how you operate or tone of voice or whatever brand elements you have. So it's not enough just to start with a foundational model, you need to tailor it. So there are multiple techniques to it. Then what you really need would be a skilled set of assistants, that's basically this Marketer Workbench part in the middle, where your marketing teams can use this in conversational UI or form-based UI, whatever the format would be, how to interact with this brand brain behind, to actually create content that would be relevant for the marketing part of the marketing journey. And then not copy-pasting this, basically being able to generate and integrate this fully to your marketing platform, whether it's Adobe, Salesforce, or Microsoft, or any other, or any custom one. So that's the kind of 3 key concepts. First, from BrandBrave perspective, we really need to start, do the asset tagging, analysis of your content, start creating branding guidelines. So load pretty much everything of the content, of the ready elements for the marketing part into your LLM, whether it's being with RAG, retrieval augmented generation, or start even fine-tuning your model. So basically now we've seen a lot of smaller parameter models being specifically fine-tuned perform much better than the big ones actually, and then which drives cost efficiency, because then your call to an API, basically to LLM in the backend, costs much less than usual call to potentially GPT-4 Turbo. The next part is how we use that. So basically, if we have the capability that something will generate either text, image, video, or something for us, how to use it. So we kind of have 2 classes of assistants. One of them would be called creator assistants, which are actually persona, journey creator, proposal creator, or something to improve search engine optimization. And the other ones would be insights, basically understanding the product. For example, using the persona you already created, then you need to query this persona how potentially your new product would look like, how new product would be perceived by this persona. So at the same time, you're using these skilled assistants to improve the way you work. And of course, the last part, being able to integrate this across entire workflow of your marketing team, and then embed all these elements which are generated automatically or semi-automatically into the workflow from the marketing end-to-end. So I'll show you also a use case where we did similar concept on top of Salesforce platform. So it's fully integrated with overall end-to-end marketing team. So I'm sure, maybe just a question, raise your hands who has ever had experience with mall in the region. I think a lot of people are coming from these local, or buying fuel or anything from them on their service stations. Okay, see some hands. Okay, so what we started with this is MOL Group. It's an oil and gas company, big oil and gas company, vertically integrated oil and gas company in Central and Eastern Europe. And they're actually, one of the curiosities is also, fun fact, is that they actually sell over 100 million coffees and hot dogs on a yearly basis. And it's not enough. Basically, they're having their own coffee roasting factory, basically. So they're actually making their own coffee to sell on fresh corner parts of their service station. So they really invested a few years back into becoming true consumer goods retailer and mobility services provider. So that's their kind of mission and vision and mission statement. They wanted to digitize all of the customer interactions. And for that, actually, they built what we call MOL Digital Factory. Actually, it was small 5 years ago, but now it grew over 50 people, actually, as an innovation unit that IBM Consulting worked with them, actually, to implement this platform. So the platform was, initial kind of goal was to create full-blown loyalty and rewards platform where all of the interaction would happen over a mobile app, and then all of the points, all of the exchange of value comes through the mobile app channel. And this is the kind of key of the platform part. So whoever was shopping there, potentially having the loyalty part of the app. I think it was released in Serbia earlier this year. Some other countries like Croatia actually was the first one in the rollout. Where I'm coming from is actually in 2020. Actually, we did it during COVID time. So basically, after our first PI planning, when we were implementing the platform, second day of PI planning, we had to go home all and start working from remote because all of the COVID restrictions kicked in. So the platform itself, it's tier-based. Basically, your accrue points, whatever you shop and buy on a service station, would be relevant for getting additional points. Of course, spending more on non-fuel products, which have a higher margin for MOL. You get more points, of course. Fuel is usually what you come to the service station, so that's the least part of the points you usually get. But then there's a lot of gamification, scratch card games. There was a lot of stuff invested through the platform that makes the platform itself really, really great. MOL was receiving a lot of awards for this platform. But then the key strategy for them, and this is actually affecting you as customers, is they have two-pronged approach. One of them, from marketing perspective, is to increase frequency, actually making people come more to the service station. And the second one is increasing the basket size, basically basket uplift. how actually the number of products you actually buy from the service station. And there are multiple techniques actually they're using through the implementation, through the marketing journeys, understanding the behavior, patterns and everything of the customer, and then issuing, sending you either vouchers or gamification, you know, buy two, you get the third one for free. Every type of combination of these activities is being currently fully automated. So, and this is how the marketing journey actually looks like. There is over 6 million transactions on a monthly basis. All of their data is in Databricks, in Azure hosted, but then the rest of the platform is actually Salesforce, Service Cloud, Sales Cloud, Marketing Cloud, and Loyalty Cloud, actually as a key components. And then analysis of these through the big data analysis, analyzing all these segments, figuring out what segment customer belongs to, actually then kicking off specific campaign after that. So the platform was working great, but then this was certainly not enough, because what we wanted actually to improve, actually why hence being on this conference as well, is start using generative AI, figuring out how to improve the overall marketing journey in terms of like what types of sources of data we might use, maybe employ AI into micro-segmentation in a better way, and then explore, actually, because at the time we just had a hypothesis that this would work, explore the way how we can create content dynamically based on the customer behavior, and then actually sending this content to the customer and seeing the result, basically the activation or conversion or whatever the metric was defined. So we set out actually to say, okay, we will just focus so we can compare easily. We said we focus on people who are not buying coffee. And in Hungary, actually, there are like around 400,000 people who are still visiting service station, have the loyalty app, but they're not buying coffee for whatever reason. So we said, okay, let's focus on these 400,000 customers and then figure out actually with the way how we can actually create the better concept with generative AI. So we can then compare actually a month later how the effective this campaign was. So our key kind of concept was first analyzing actually the customer profiles. We created a fairly innovative kind of way how to codify the behavior of a micro-segment, so basically kind of codifying the values from psychographics, demographics, behavioral patterns and needs and goals, actually into a model through clustering models in machine learning, actually using specific techniques, then analyzing this data, also uncovering some elements in unstructured data, for example, in the questionnaires, so people, when they're on board, they need to type in some answers, and then we're using actually some of those unstructured data as source, actually, how to codify these micro-segments. And then using specific technique, define the micro-segments within this initial segment, starting the slicing, actually, figuring out which features actually are really relevant for this specific micro-segment, running this engine, and then this engine actually, I would say, spits out, in a sense, kind of combination of different features of micro-segments. So basically slicing a no-coffee buyer segment into the ones potentially buying, driving more, using car wash services, maybe using bakeries. All these elements will have been fleshed out by AI, and then we use generative AI to actually help to explain and kind of elaborate this persona or micro-segment into the usual persona as we usually have, kind of like describing the needs and goals and everything. But this needs and goals and all the elements in terms of persona description, they were coming actually from the data themselves. It was not envisioned from the start, as usually we start from the marketing perspective. And then actually once we have the persona, and persona perfectly describes the behavior of the customer that actually sits and relies on data that we have, and then using this persona actually to create subject line and body content for email, as well as the full push notification. So how this works actually in real life and actually through the tools. So we were building this for kind of a Marketer Workbench for the marketer to still not actually doing everything end to end, hence this kind of caveat of not running everything like what was it, McDonald's kind of example. So we wanted to see each step of the workflow, actually what kind of the output is produced, and the marketer actually kind of approving with the button, click of a button, but actually like semi-automated process in this. So we'll see how this works from the data perspective, a little bit of architecture, as well as how this works also in the Salesforce Marketing Cloud, where the marketer is actually using all these content elements. So I think you're bored already of my voice, so I'll let people on the demo actually have this. I think I need to click once more.
Our starting point is data. The amount, accuracy, and variety of data will help train the AI model. From the database, after segmentation and data analysis, we are going to extract feature items. Concrete examples are customer interest or product usages. Those items are sent to the marketer UI. From there, the marketer communicates directly with the generative AI. He or she can send the feature item, and watsonx is generating back the personas. In a second step, the marketer picks his persona, and late AI generates different types of content. It can be email, pushes, and so on. Once the marketer is satisfied with the content generated, it can be pushed by a simple click in the campaign tool. The content is now ready to be used in journey and campaign. The list of customers is directly coming from the segmentation tool. Marketing Cloud is matching individual customer with the generated content and sending corresponding messages to the customer segment.
In the Marketer UI, there is a list of existing personas with their corresponding descriptions. To create a new persona, click on the New Persona button. What appears is a set of profiles representing different customer subsegments. For each profile, there is a list of features as well as the number of customers belonging to it. To create a new persona out of customer profile, click Create Persona. Once you click Generate Persona, a list of features will be sent to watsonx to generate a detailed persona description. Check the generated persona description, and once you're satisfied, click Save Persona. The generated persona description provides an insight into customers' behavioral and transactional patterns, as well as products and services of interest. To create new marketing content for the persona, click Create Content. The insights from the persona description are used to generate personalized marketing content tailored for a specific customer subsegment. We can customize the language, tone, and goal, as well as the type of message we want to produce. Let's say we want to create content in the Hungarian language with a friendly and positive tone and the goal of increasing coffee sales by offering a 50% coffee discount. For the type of message, we can choose either email, push notification, or both. Once we click Generate, the key features of high interest to the persona will be sent to watsonx as parameters and will be reflected in the generated marketing content. Once generated, the user can edit the content, and when satisfied, click Submit to send it to the Marketing Cloud.
The content is created in Content Builder. We will showcase two content types, push notifications for mobile apps and content blocks tailored for emails. Let's start with push notifications. The message body, title, and open behavior are all configured in the API call, so no additional work is needed and the asset is ready to be sent. Now emails. We are using a common template for all our emails, so we used AI to generate only part of the email. This content block contains email body and subject line. Simply drag the block into the email template, and here is the final email ready to be sent. Our campaign is almost ready. It's time to integrate our push notification, email, select the segmented audience from our database, then schedule the send time and activate the campaign.
So what you've seen is actually kind of demo version of the tool that Mol is using currently internally. So of course we could fully automate the whole process, but the whole idea was initially to show, actually to adopt kind of and have faith actually in the system producing correct. It was in Hungarian, not sure who speaks Hungarian here, but kind of like there was also a lot of tailoring actually that needs to be done. Of course, we're always kind of underdogs here in this region, especially with support of our languages with LLMs. But the whole point was to start adopting technology internally, to see the value of it, and then once we see that actually the outputs are correct, we can evaluate, we can potentially also track drift and bias, actually then automate the whole flow. So what we have achieved when we compared, as I said, we started with no coffee bar campaign, and then comparing back to back, actually month by month, we saw 24% uplift in the voucher use and sales actually for coffee for this particular segment, as opposed to actually previous segments. So which means that even though offer was the same, just changing the part of the message, actually subject line and intro part, that is really relevant for if somebody is a heavy driver and commutes a lot, like stating a message, stop by our service station in your busy day, have a coffee, as opposed to somebody who likes bakery or any type of other, then kind of combining this with take your croissant and 50% discount of coffee. So that's a different messaging. It's already kind of providing value. That's the business value side. Also on the marketing value side, what we saw that initially they had 34 segments, but we just took this one segment and created 15 micro segments basically in running the engine and creating personas, which means that we can increase the capacity of the teams, which are still small, from marketing perspective, to handle hundreds of these segments instead of tens of them. So it's already boosting a way how to actually increase the efficiency of the marketer themselves. So not reducing jobs, but actually creating better output outside. So as I said, we were using IBM watsonx. IBM watsonx, just to explain, so we were using actually Llama model. At the time we were building this pilot, it was Llama 2, now it's already 3.1, so the advances of the language models are really rapid. But watsonx was enabling us to actually integrate external model with Salesforce platform. So we were able to use Llama model or any other open source models we want to introduce in. Of course, we can use IBM's own Granite model actually as a new class of models as well. But this platform was enabling us to change different types of campaigns, different types of models, and even choose between different types of LLMs in the backend with a simple configuration from Salesforce side. So fun part is also that Salesforce is investing a lot, and every platform is investing a lot in their own AI capabilities. So it will always be a bit of clash whether we use something out of the box from the platform itself, or we use something custom. But if we still kind of revert back to that initial kind of concept of having a brand brain, having assistants, and then integrating fully into the workflow, it really doesn't matter. So it's not going to be one tool with one model, but you need to start actually creating a construct or a concept where you're able to change the models behind, still use the content of the enterprise data that you already prepared for this, and then have skill assistants, whether it's form-based like what we have, or chat-based like what Agentforce in Salesforce is using, or GPT-like. So there are tools that are helping marketers and also the rest of the company actually how to use these models. So from IBM watsonx perspective, as I said, we were able to prepare the data, test the models, prepare everything from the prompting side, actually to create better prompts, to find better language kind of output, and then easily deploy those models to be used in an external platform like Salesforce. Of course, as I said, you can build your own models as well, so not necessarily the first step you would do to start immediately with building your models, but actually starting with open models, open source models, and combining this through the platform itself. And then how to get started actually from the conceptual perspective. So first of all, what foundations actually you need to start working on would be data itself. So unless you have a proper single source of truth and enough metadata, it will be hard to start reaping the benefits of generative AI, because then you're stuck with simple copilot, not even knowing what your company name is, But then when you start adding elements to it in terms of your enterprise data into it, whether it's fine-tuning, parameter efficient fine-tuning, or retrieval augmented generation, there are ways how to teach the model your context of your enterprise, then you start actually getting the benefits. So you can build your proprietary models as well, but then you really need to focus on integrating them into the workflow, because if you end up being actually copy-pasting results of whatever generative AI produces for you, there is so much little scale that you can achieve with that. Maybe some benefits you could have, but it's not scalable enough. And then, of course, to maximize on the use of AI itself. And from the CMO's perspective, this was all about marketing, actually, they should also start thinking about organizational kind of effects. So what kind of the use case we can leverage, how to improve efficiency, then what technology elements we need to start using, what is actually the market landscape, actually what's happening around us, maybe some of the tools are already having some elements of AI we can introduce in. And then, of course, financial, because as I said at the beginning, you don't necessarily need to, like getting a rifle or a tank to kill a mosquito, you know. So you don't necessarily need to, for every use case, you need to have the full-blown, you know, 70, 100, whatever billion parameters model. They're much more efficient models right now. With a bit of fine-tuning, actually, you can achieve great results as well. But then you need to have a platform that's able this testing, because it's still exploration phase from the model perspective. And then you need to start with something fairly small, something that's feasible, but something that has a large impact. So we've talked about at the beginning of this presentation around what are the key kind of use cases in marketing. But what we've seen and what we have also done with our customer, with Mol, kind of we were tailoring classic design thinking kind of set of workshops and kind of this design thinking exploratory or discovery type of workshops, adding generative AI elements into it. So basically we were using generative AI alignment workshop where we were defining kind of what are the goals from AI perspective, special exercises actually accustomed to how to use AI, because one thing is that you are still resolving a business problem and then focus on the business problem itself, but you still focus on kind of introducing AI, but then this generative AI element is not going to be resolving only that business problem. So you need to understand how this might affect other classes of business problems. So then you start actually resolving a class of problem, not the problem itself, because the problem itself is potentially only just like tip of the iceberg of the things you might do. At the same time, you build foundational elements of the platform and then start resolving all of the business issues as well. So with this, I thank you. I think we are in a lot of time. We still have a few minutes to ask a few questions.